Okay, so we're cracking open this State of AI report, and wow, it is dense.
Yeah, it's a beast. Over 200 pages.
Definitely not light reading, but that's what we're here for, right? To distill the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Give us the AI cheat codes.
Exactly. Cut through the noise, figure out what really matters.
So, where do we even begin? This report is packed. I mean, it's clear that AI is advancing crazy fast. Things that seemed impossible a year ago are just like reality now.
It's moving at warp speed.
Mm-mm.
And this report does a great job, I think, of capturing just how much AI is becoming intertwined with, well, everything.
It's everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
So let's talk about who's ahead in this AI race. OpenAI, they're still the name, right?
Still the one to beat, yeah.
Especially with this new model, O1. It's not cheap, from what I hear, to even run this thing.
It's computationally expensive, that's for sure.
But it can tackle these complex math and coding problems like it's nothing.
The things that one can do, it's pretty remarkable. Like, it can perform calculations in seconds that would take traditional algorithms days, maybe even weeks.
Yeah, it's wild. Remember that story about the PhD student? The one who had O1 basically replicate a year of his research in an hour?
Oh, yeah, I read about that. Poor guy.
Can you imagine? Talk about having your mind blown. Maybe a little scary too, right? Like, what does that mean for the future of, like, research, education, even expertise?
Definitely raises some big questions.
The big questions. But OpenAI isn't the only game in town anymore. Meta's Llama 3, it's making waves. Open source, that's a big deal.
Huge deal. Means anyone can use it, tinker with it, build on it.
Exactly. And it's going head-to-head with GPT-4 in some of these tests. Could this be the start of, like, a power shift?
It's definitely a contender. And that's what's so exciting about this moment in AI. The playing field is starting to level. It's not just these massive corporations with unlimited resources calling the shots anymore.
It's like democratizing AI in
Yeah.
a way, right? Making it more accessible.
Exactly. And it's not just about these giant models either, right?
Yeah.
The report talks about how there's this big push now for more efficient AI, smaller models that can run on, like, your phone.
So we're not all walking around with, like, supercomputers in our pockets.
Well, not yet anyway. But the goal is to make AI more accessible, more practical for everyday use. Imagine your smartphone being able to run sophisticated AI models that can understand your needs better than ever before. That's the promise.
It's like having a personal assistant that actually gets you. But hold on, because it gets even more interesting. The report also dug into how we measure AI progress, those benchmark tests. And guess what?
They're flawed.
Seriously flawed.
Yeah, I was surprised by how much emphasis they put on that. It kind of undermines the whole system for evaluating these models.
Right, like how much can we really trust these rankings if the benchmarks themselves are wonky?
It's a good point. And it raises questions about whether we're accurately assessing the capabilities of these models. Some might be far more advanced than we realize.
Or less.
Or less. We might be overhyping some while underestimating others.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about building bigger and better AI. We need better ways to measure what better even means.
And that's something the report stresses. We need to understand the limitations of our evaluation methods and be open to the possibility that AI is advancing faster than we can accurately measure.
It's both exciting and kind of terrifying at the same time, right? Like, we're building these incredibly powerful tools, but we're still figuring out how to measure their impact, their potential.
It's a constant game of catch-up. But that's also what makes this field so dynamic, so full of potential. We're still in the early stages of understanding what AI can do.
It's the Wild West out there.
In a lot of ways it is. But that's where the really interesting conversations begin.
So AI is getting smarter, it's getting smaller, but this report, it really hammered home how AI is breaking out of that language-only box.
Definitely. It's not just about text anymore. Images, videos, even biology. AI is showing up everywhere.
Yeah, and it's doing some seriously impressive stuff, like take Stability AI and their stable video diffusion model.
Oh yeah, generating videos from text prompts.
You just type in what you want to see, and boom, AI creates a video. That's insane.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about the possibilities. We're talking about creating things that would have been impossible just a few years ago.
It's like having a Hollywood studio at your fingertips.
Right. The potential for education, for entertainment, it's huge.
I even heard that Google DeepMind and OpenAI, they're working on even more powerful text-to-video models.
Yeah, there are rumors. But those are still under wraps. They're keeping those pretty close to the chest.
Top secret AI projects. That just makes it even more intriguing.
Makes you wonder what they're cooking up in those labs.
Right. But it's not all fun and games. This report also gets into some pretty serious territory, like how AI is being used to design proteins.
Ah, yes, AlphaFold. That was a game changer.
DeepMind's AlphaFold 3, it's not just about understanding how proteins fold anymore. They're using it to design entirely new proteins.
And that's where things get really interesting from a scientific standpoint. Because now you're talking about creating new medicines, new materials, even new forms of life.
It's like we're entering a whole new era of biology, one where AI is the driving force.
It's a powerful tool, but like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
That's the big question, right? And speaking of big questions, this report pointed out a big problem. Apparently, there's a real shortage of people who understand both AI and biology.
Yeah, that's a real concern. Because if we want to explore the full potential of AI in biology, we need people who can bridge that gap.
We need those bilingual brains, right? The ones who can speak both the language of AI and the language of biology.
It's like needing a translator, but for science. And those translators are in high demand right now.
It's a whole new job market.
Yeah.
But speaking of mind-blowing applications for AI, get this. Researchers are now using AI to decode what we see, hear, even how we speak.
You're talking about brain-computer interface.
Yeah. And get this, they're doing it just by analyzing brain activity.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's becoming reality.
It's incredible. Imagine the possibilities for people with disabilities, people who have lost the ability to communicate.
It could be life-changing.
It's like giving someone a voice again, or even a whole new way to interact with the world.
The implications are huge, and it really speaks to the transformative power of AI.
It's not just about making our lives easier or more efficient. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the AI industry itself, because this report doesn't shy away from the realities of big money, intense competition, and some serious power plays. It's a high-stakes game, that's for sure. And speaking of high stakes, this report, they don't beat around the bush when it comes to, like, the big players. NVIDIA, still the king of the hill.
Oh, absolutely. They're like the 800-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to AI chips. Everyone needs their hardware.
Yeah, and their stock price. It's like a rocket ship.
No kidding. Which has led to some debate, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are they too big? Are we in an AI bubble? Is this sustainable?
It's a bubble that's going to burst, right?
Some people say that. Others say NVIDIA's just getting started.
Who knows? Only time will tell with that one. But speaking of power dynamics, the report also kind of digs into how AI research is, well, it's very U.S.-centric right now.
Yeah, a lot of the big players, they're all based in the U.S., but that's changing.
That's what I was going to say. China, they're coming up fast. Even with the whole chip thing, the sanctions.
It's impressive, honestly. They're really good at doing more with less.
They're resourceful. Okay, but what about all those AI startups? Remember, like a year ago, it seemed like every other day there was a new AI startup making headlines.
Right, but building a successful AI company, it's not easy.
Turns out the hype doesn't always translate to profit.
Exactly. This report, it actually highlights that. A lot of these startups are getting acquired. Some for a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Big companies, they're scooping them up left and right.
It's tough to compete with the giants when they have so many resources.
It's like David and Goliath, but with AI.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Although there are some exceptions, like GitHub's Copilot, that's been a huge success.
Yeah, it shows that there's a real demand for AI tools, especially for developers.
For sure. But outside of tech, it's still early days.
Yeah, the report kind of hinted at that. Like, AI tools for other industries, they're still a bit clunky, a bit too expensive.
Definitely room for improvement. Okay, but we can't talk about AI without talking about the big one.
Oh, you mean...
AI safety, the ethical consideration.
Right, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Exactly. Remember when the big fear was AI becoming self-aware, turning evil?
Like in the movies?
Exactly. The Terminator scenario. And while that's still a theoretical possibility, the conversation has shifted a bit.
To what? What's keeping people up at night now?
Well, this report, they talk a lot about jailbreaking, where people basically trick AI into bypassing its safety protocols.
Wait, so like hacking AI?
Kind of. It's more about finding loopholes in the code, exploiting weaknesses in the system to make AI do things it's not supposed to.
That sounds concerning.
It can be. Especially as AI gets more powerful, we need to make sure that we're building in robust safety measures, ethical guidelines.
So it's not just about what AI can do, but how we use it.
Exactly. And that's a conversation that everyone needs to be a part of.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from these massive language models to AI designing proteins and reading our minds. It feels like we're on the cusp of something huge, but it's not without its risks.
No kidding. This report has been a wild ride, honestly.
It's exciting, it's scary, it's mind-boggling, and it's definitely something we'll be keeping a close eye on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the state of AI. For all of you listening, stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions. The future of AI is being written right now, and it's up to all of us to make sure it's a future we want to live in. Until next time.